Welcome to our coverage here at the RNC in Milwaukee. We are being joined by Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Following what happened to Donald Trump, one of the most shocking moments in American history. He narrowly survived, and we're extremely grateful, but there's a lot of questions and a lot of conspiracy theories across the board. And it's hard to know which one's the most implausible because they're all nuts. How this guy even got on the roof where the police staging area is occurring with a weapon, with a clear line of sight, in and of itself is hard to believe. But there are a lot of questions that aren't being answered. And the Congresswoman, you've got some legislation. So you want to tell us where you're at with this?
Yes. So I serve on the Oversight and Accountability Committee, and we are bringing in Director Cheadle to the oversight room to have her answer to what went wrong, why President Trump was nearly assassinated, why he was millimeters away from death, why a supporter of President Trump lost his life at that rally, why others were injured, why Congressman Ronnie Jackson's son was grazed in the neck by a bullet nephew. Congressman Ronnie Jackson's nephew was grazed in the neck by a bullet intended for President Trump. And she needs to answer for this. We want to know the real answers of why this shooter was not neutralized, why this threat wasn't mitigated before something actually happened. We don't want to hear about slopes. This was one of the most ridiculous answers that she could have ever provided. She said that the slope was too steep to have snipers on the rooftop where the shooter was taking shots from. However, the snipers that were placed on the roof adjacent to him, it was a steeper grade. So I don't want to hear these excuses. I want to know why he was able to go there, why people knew of him some 26 minutes prior to him actually getting on the roof and shooting. And so we're going to do that in the oversight hearing. However, I have legislation that is defunding the director of the Secret Service. Look, we know that the job of the Secret Service is to keep the president safe. And she absolutely failed. She said that the buck stops with her. Well, I'm saying that the dollar bill stops too, because this was a complete failure all the way around. And so I have legislation drafted to defund her salary. And we need to get someone who's actually competent, not someone who is focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think my colleague Corey Mills said it best. He was being interviewed and he said, obviously, we are seeing that DEI leads to DIE. Yeah. And that is what is happening all throughout America. If you look at our airline industry, if you look at our military, and now, unfortunately, even within the Secret Service. And I'm not saying that women can't serve or whatever diverse group that you want to include. I'm saying we need specific qualifications before these people are hired. And she is the one who is responsible for that.
Now, the FBI said that they're going to be investigating this. I don't trust them to investigate themselves. Is there any way you guys could actually subpoena some of the agents that were on site, because they made a lot of mistakes, especially those snipers that were on top of the roof. One of them who, of course, recoiled, one of them who tried to hide. They were looking directly at the threat. They allowed the shots to be fired. There's a lot of scuttlebutt and rumors that they were told to stand down. We need to find out what happened to those guys, because they could have stopped it, but they deliberately allowed the shooter to take 5 shots at him, and they clearly saw him for 26 plus minutes. And is there also a way that we could potentially subpoena the communications that was happening there, because we could find out what was said back and forth, and I think that is critically important.
We'll make one quick clarification. There were 3 different officers within a 26-minute period who saw this guy.
Yes.
Those guys on the roof, I don't know if they were within the 26-minute window, but 2 minutes before the shots went off, Trump supporters are on the ground screaming, he's on the roof, he's got a gun. How could this happen? How could this happen?
These are the things that we are trying to get answers to, and certainly to prevent it from happening again. President Trump's going to Michigan. What an amazing warrior he is. I mean, he escapes death by just a couple of millimeters.
You can't keep him down.
You cannot keep this man down. They've tried to jail him. They've persecuted him. They've canceled him, and they've tried to kill him. And he doesn't go away. He won't go away because he knows what he's fighting for. But in all of this, we are going to start issuing subpoenas, especially after the news that we heard today. So us oversight members, we were expecting to be briefed by the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security stepped in and said that they are not allowed to talk with us, that they cannot have that briefing with us about this investigation, about this attempted assassination of President Trump. And so we are issuing subpoenas in that case because we want these answers. And to your point, there's many more that need to be sent out. I've been very frustrated at the lack of subpoenas that we've issued in this slim majority that we've had. But I do believe that Chairman Jamie Comer is seeing that this administration does not want to play with us. They do not want to cooperate. They do not want to answer to us. They do not want to be held accountable. And it's time to start playing with the authority and the power that we have in the House and issuing these subpoenas.
To that end, sorry, I was going to say, to that end, can you give us sort of a temperature check on the Oversight Committee right now? Of course, it's a Republican-led chamber, but you guys aren't alone. There are Democrats. Are they interested in your legislation, or are they sort of resisting?
So I don't know if this legislation has been offered to Democrats. I haven't heard their response on it just yet. However, I will say a fellow colleague on the Oversight Committee, Jared Moskowitz from Florida, he is frustrated with the director. He saw a report that security was beefed up for President Trump. And he was like, whoa, if this is increased security, then I don't want to know what your regular standards are. This is unacceptable. He's communicated with me about this, saying, this is a time where we need to try to unite. And, there's a lot of rhetoric that needs to be toned down. I mean, look, Joe Biden was saying just last week that Trump needs to be placed in a bullseye. I'm sure that he's wishing that would have been a sentence that he couldn't make out, would have stuttered his way through, but he got those words out. And, he's been called a threat to democracy, a national security threat, a threat to our country, all of these things, but not just President Trump, all of his supporters as well. Almost no Democrats speak of Republicans without saying MAGA extremists and trying to label us.
I don't know how we get through this scenario, because it's hard for me, as someone who tries to be reasonable, to understand how it is that this random, insane person cased a Trump. So if somebody was going to try and stage a hit against a president, and we're talking about a nation state level, they would need to do recon. They would need to do assessment of location, vantage points. So in this scenario, we have some random kid who stumbles upon a rally for which he had no intelligence access to, did not know where buildings were, did not know where line of sight would be. He is spotted 26 minutes in advance, comes across a building with a ladder, climbs on top of that building, which just so happens to be the police sniper staging headquarters, and is up there. Again, it's 26 minutes, and is able to get a direct line of sight on the president. It is hard to understand how that scenario is as simple as that. And so I know they mentioned that Iran wanted to, take out the president. Yeah, right. But
we're just finding out about this.
And I don't believe this is in any way related. But I do not think any reasonable American would believe a story that a 20-year-old insane person stumbled upon this building. I am not saying that the Secret Service was involved or FBI is involved. I'm saying there is an element to this not known to the public that goes beyond just this one guy.
Yes, and that's why we need to be asking all the questions and assessing all of these scenarios, because it does seem very likely that there is foul play somewhere. This is too perfect for this man to go up on the building and get the shot that he got. And, I obviously we've seen the disgusting videos of the left, angry that he missed, but he wasn't going to miss. President Trump turned his head.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Right.
Have you seen the wireframe videos?
I have. Yes. Millimeters.
Divine intervention is.
Divine intervention. This was God showing up in a big way. And I love that you said that too, because I mean, if you're going to reference God, then you got to go to his word. And in his word, when he talks about blood on the right ear, that's consecration. He is saying, I've consecrated this man for this time to me, to my will, for my people.
The left is saying that there's two things. They say that when Donald Trump reached for his ear after being struck, he smacked a gel pack.
Oh, yeah.
They say that when he dropped to the ground, the Secret Service applied a gel pack. It is insane.
Wow.
It is insane.
Those are only a few crazy people.
Conspiracy theories, right?
Those are some crazy few people. The craziest people are, of course, the corporate media, or the people that there's not something bigger and deeper happening here, and that this is just a big coincidence. That's crazy. There's a guy with a ladder and a rifle walking around. CNN even reported that he was acting suspicious around the event, and authorities over the radio eyed him and told them to keep an eye on him to Secret Service before the event even started. So to to me, it's even crazier to believe that all of this is just a big coincidence, a big mishap. It's not. And those people are just crazier than the jail pack people.
I'm having a bit of a, I don't know what the right word is for it, but my brain is struggling to accept this because all it would take is for one law enforcement to go get Trump off the stage.
Yep.
That's it. That's it within 26 minutes.
Isn't there a code for that? That's what I thought. Like, they said, oh, we saw somebody with a rangefinder, or we saw. You would think there'd be like some sort of like code red.
Right.
You know, this guy, you know, the cop who saw him on the building and then backed down because he wasn't armed for some reason. He also didn't have a radio, apparently. Like, all of these things happen, and at no point is this kind of basically, I would assume, I'm not in the Secret Service, but I would assume they had some sort of like
3-4 minutes, people were screaming, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. 3-4 minutes. This is not a mistake. This is not an accident. These people are criminally liable. We don't need investigations. We need charges immediately against everyone involved here. Those Secret Service agents need to testify immediately. Is there any way we could get, because again, the head of the Secret Service, she's going to lie. She told us that there was a slope issue today. She thinks we're stupid. She thinks we're idiots. We need those individual agents to be deposed, to speak on record, and to say, what in the world happened here?
Well, I think it's really clear that Cheadle doesn't want to take accountability. She did that ABC interview, and she said, the buck stops with me. But also, we weren't securing that building. Local police was. I mean, which is it?
Yes.
You are ultimately responsible for protecting the former president. That's what she said. And then saying, but not 2 feet over there.
Yes. Well, there are Secret Service agents that I have spoke with about this. And, you know, there's talk right now of even senior officials like requesting whistleblowers right now. And so, you know, I think President Trump's immediate Secret Service are fantastic. These are the people who are on the ground with him all the time. I see them regularly. I think they did the right things. They went towards the bullet. They went towards the shooting.
Except that one lady.
They got... Well, so I hear that she was not a part of that detail, and she actually did come up to the stage. You know, that's another question that needs to be asked, right? So the images certainly look like she's cowering back, but she wasn't a part of that immediate detail and was going towards. So yes, she is ducked behind, and so that could be a perception issue too with that photo. More questions that need answers. But many of those Secret Service agents, I know because I've been around the president. This isn't just our future president, our former president. This is my friend that I've spent time with. And so I do believe that they need to come in and answer as well of what was going on, what the communications were of that day, because this is absolutely unacceptable.
I just got one last question for fun. I have never been more inspired and more uplifted than seeing not just Donald Trump, but Eric and Trump Jr. and Kimberly, Melania's letter. A day, they get 1 day off. Trump goes golfing, and he's back at work on Monday after someone nearly blew his head off, and his kids are there, and they're working. And my attitude was like, damn, man, I'd be okay with you taking a day off. But they're back, the whole family back at work. I feel reverence and inspiration from that.
Yes, but that's what makes him such a great leader. And people recognize that. Those forgotten voters that voted for him in 2016, he has never left them. He has never forgotten them. He has always gone and reached out and done more than he should have. There are people who get the Trump endorsement and expect to win an election on his name alone and don't put in any work. And he doesn't run on his name alone. Every day he is putting in the work. He has sleepless nights, and he still makes time for his family. His family is there with him. And, you know, that's what we love about him. He is a family man first. He's a businessman, and he loves America. And that's why his next presidency, his next administration is going to be even better than the first.
A lot of people have pointed out, and they love to point out, that he is an older billionaire who should be on a yacht in the Mediterranean sipping on mojitos, but instead chooses to do rallies where he fights for America. And after getting a bullet nearly through his skull and through his ear, he shows up for work that Monday, and he's facing down what may be the most powerful sign of retire, and he says no, and even take a day off.
That's right.
I love it. This guy has really inspired me.
Yes.
Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
You know, just to continue what you're saying, I feel that same sentiment. President Trump has sacrificed so much, and these were some of the first things that I was saying in local Colorado interviews, that this is a billionaire, and he had a really wonderful life, and he could be on the most gorgeous golf course doing whatever he wants and enjoying his family, and instead he is fighting for us. And just as he has said all along, they're not really after me. They're after you. I'm just in the way. And that was the most tangible manifestation of that saying that we could have seen without actually losing him.
Seriously.
I felt that on Saturday.
Yes. And, I have such admiration for President Trump, and I'll do anything to make sure that he wins this in November and certainly help him while he is in the White House to carry out his agenda. This is a man who selflessly loves this country and loves her people. So whatever I can do to hold these folks accountable, I'm here for it. I know I have my colleagues who are going to be fighting for the same. There's a lot of members who are upset, and hopefully we actually show America that Republicans can do the job that we were elected to do, and not just have hearings and send letters, but actually hold people accountable. And it's been said today, even have charges that are brought to these people, or we just take their money from them.
Representative Boebert, thanks for joining us for the special pre-recorded segment. Really do appreciate it, and look forward to the rest of the RNC. So thanks for coming.
Yes, thanks so much. President Trump, he's grazed and unfazed.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.